How you doing, folks? Just a quick video in my series of videos to do with the California, and what I thought I would do is I would just kind of give some kind of feedback on minor problems with regards to the van. So just basically little faults that have appeared. So the van is 2 years old now at this stage, and we've had lots of little kind of faults and little things go wrong. Well, no, I say lots, 6 or 7 little things, little quality aspects that have you know, that kind of I've noticed that we shouldn't, in the price, in the kind of cost of this kind of van, you wouldn't expect to happen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through them, and then if you've had similar issues, you can let me know. And that's really that. So I think you know, to be honest, I think the main thing for me is I'm disappointed that you spend this much money, and it's just little quality, little small things that kind of irritate you, because they're not big enough a deal probably to bring back to the dealership, although I probably should, and you can probably fix yourself, but you know, you just wouldn't expect them to happen. But anyway, so the first major thing, the only really major thing we've had was we had when we got back from our trip from Germany. So we'd driven the van for a year and a half at that stage, and I'd say when the van was maybe a year old, I noticed a warning light coming on in the engine saying that there was a problem with the diesel preheater, and it came on and then it went off. And then some months later, we got some kind of warning light again, and then so it was intermittent. And then when we got back from Germany, the van we'd been back probably a month or two, and I noticed then this light come on and stayed on permanently. And we brought it back, and VW ended up hanging on to the van for probably the guts of 2 months, I'd say, trying to fix what the issue was. And it turns out there was nothing wrong. They replaced loads of parts in the engine. They thought it was something to do with I'm trying to think now what it was. It's something to do with the exhaust system or something like that. And that's because that's what the warning kept telling them. And they had stripped bits and pieces and replaced lots of parts of the engine. And it turns out that it was just a little box, a little kind of a junction box with wiring in it had somehow cracked, or it was leaking. And they weren't sure how it had happened. And it leaked, and there was condensation getting in. Because what was happening was that they were fixing it, and then they were saying to us it was fixed. And then we drive it home, park it, and the next day we turn it on and the fault was back on. And it turns out what was happening was, and it was weird because it was kind of like when it was cold or something like that. So clearly what was happening was this little box was leaking moisture in, and then the moisture was short-circuiting the system or something like that, and it was sending this fault to the computer, telling them. That's the only major thing, and I'm glad it happened while it was under warranty. The van's 2 years old now, and I think we're coming up to being out of warranty, I think, at the end of January. Okay, so down to the minor issues. And what I'll do is I have my other camera here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to video them as I'm talking about them, and then that way I can explain to you what it is. So the first issue, now they're not in chronological order, they're just as I've written them down on the list. So the first issue is with the fridge hinges. Okay, so the fridge hinges. So you open up the fridges and they come up on these kind of little gas struts and so on, right? So that's what they're on. One of them. And what's happened, I've noticed, is this nut in here has worked itself off, and I tried to put, now it's really awkward because you need access to the nut, but to get access to the nut you'd need somehow to access it from here. So what I was able to do was basically using a pliers, was I kind of managed to turn it back on. And the reason I put that little bit of tape that you can see there on is because because the nut would have come off. Is it back off again? No, you can see. Yeah, so look, it's coming loose. It's working itself loose again. So once this piece comes out, I'd need to screw this back in. But what's happening is that the action of opening and closing the fridge door is basically turning this nut, and the nut's working its way out. And to get access to it, I'd either need some kind of special tool, or I'd need this part of the panel to be out of my way. I was actually considering drilling a hole, believe it or not, and working my way in through here, through the hole, and basically having access to it here and drilling it. but I don't think it will. I think the next time I bring it back to VW, I might just say to them that that's a problem. Okay, so that's my first little bugbear. And the next on the list is the press door. So the press door, what happened here? The other day, this piece popped off. And you can see, I don't know if you can see it up close, but this part just basically sprung out. Obviously the glue or whatever had come loose. And what I did was I used some glue and tape and just stuck it back down. So that's not ideal. And I wouldn't say it's not wear and tear, it's just badly made. Just bad, poor design feature there. That's issue number 2. Issue number 3 is this guy here, at the van door. The bit of tape there doesn't do anything really, the tape, but this piece comes out. This piece is loose, and when you pull down the blind, it doesn't come all the way down, see? So that's a real that's kind of poor. So what do I do? Basically, if I move this seat forward, because when this seat's not in position, what I do is just basically give it a bang. Knocks it back into place, and there she comes. So again, poor. That's poor, isn't it? So and I don't know. I put the tape there because I thought the tape would stop. That tape has been sitting there for probably 2 years, and I'm going to take it away now because it doesn't do anything. Okay, next thing. Okay, so look, the next thing I can't really show you because it would mean taking the bed apart. But or taking the bed out, I'm not doing that. But when the bed is folded away and it meets the back of the seat, there's 2 little rubber stoppers. And I've seen people putting up on the VW Club forum, people putting their hand out with a photograph of them going, what are these? And effectively what they are is they're just little rubber stoppers that when you push the seat back, it meets the bed at the back, and they're just little rubber stoppers, and they just just stops them rubbing off each other, so that when you push the chair back, it's not the back of the chair metal on metal or something like that. But they pop off, and they did pop off on me, and they seem to pop off on a lot of people. Now getting them back in is a real pain, because they're either put in under massive force, so they must have some kind of machine to do it, because like putting a cork back in a wine bottle, you need a lot of force to do it, or else they must have some way of doing it. Either they stretch them and they're put in or something like that. I'm not sure how they do it, but anyway, once they come out, they're a real pain in the neck because they've come out of, well, I couldn't get them back in. That was the thing, I couldn't get them back in. So what did I do? I got them in as much as I could, and then what I've done basically is I have got cable ties, and the cable ties I've put the cable ties around the neck of them, and I have them I've pulled the cable ties tight in a kind of X pattern across it just to hold them into position, and they haven't come out since. Now again, it's not ideal. I'd rather been able to put them in properly, because the fact that they popped out and I couldn't get them back in, it's crazy. It's crazy how they've popped out so easy, and how I can't get them back in as easy is just beyond me. Now last but not least, the last but not least issue that drives me around the bend with the van, and this is a persistent ongoing one from day one. When we first got the van, there was a rattle at the front. Now they found out what it was. There's just, depending, I think they're little holes for where the wipers go. There's just these little holes, and what was happening was that they were loose and they were rattling. So they were able to just, with a bit of silicone or something like that, whatever they used, they glued them down and they stopped rattling. But in the window here, we have those windbreakers, and we have them on both sides, right? So we have these windbreakers here. Now what happens is that when we're driving along, there's noise. Somehow there's noise coming from this part here, and the thing about it is, what's really irritating, it's really intermittent, because when we went around with the VW technician guys, we drove them around in the van, and it doesn't appear. But sure enough, as they get out of the van, it starts again. It's just an absolute nightmare. Now at first we thought it was the little metal clips that held in the awning, the windbreaker thing. And what I did was I got some kind of double back spongy tape and sealed them. They've taken them out and cleaned them, and they've tried and tried and tried again. And they just can't seem to crack what the issue is, and it's very, very irritating. Because when I'm driving along, Vanessa can hear it, and you can hear this it's not a rattle. It's kind of like the wind is obviously blowing against it and somehow moving it slightly, but it's a kind of scratchy, ratchety kind of knocking noise. It's hard to describe, but it's very irritating. And they have tried and tried several times to try and figure out what the hell it is that's going on, because it doesn't seem to happen on my side. So that's it. So look, so the thing is, I think they're kind of obviously, well, some of them are minor enough. The fridge one's a real pain in the neck, because that's obviously coming out again, and you can't take the hinge off here, because they're all done with kind of rivets and stuff like that, so you're just asking for trouble. But that's a real pain in the neck, that one. The door is disappointing. That was disappointing, and I have to say that was the first one I spotted when I got the van brand new, so I was fairly sore with that one when that happened. And that's really it. I wouldn't, the rest of the van, thankfully, I think there's one other issue, I think, up in the bed. I think it could be to do with how the bed rests when it comes down. It could be stoppers or something. I think something has come away from up there, but I can't remember what it is, so it's clearly only a minor thing. But thankfully so far, the van, the rest, there's no real other issues. The fridge, obviously, major things like the fridge, the pumps, the gas, the electronics and all that kind of stuff. Everything else, the major stuff, is thankfully, there doesn't seem to be any problems. It just seems to be little things in this frame that seem to be causing a few minor headaches. But other than that, I mean, I don't want to put people off. What I'd say is, other than that, it's fantastic. And I did a video on the lights under the van. The lights, I'm just kind of jumping topics here slightly, but I did a video on, you probably look back, I'll do a link, in the lights I put in the press, and they're working out really, really well. Vanessa thinks they're a fantastic little idea. So I'd refer you to the video, because the newer vans have the split top and the lighting and all that kind of stuff, and which inspired me to kind of do the little lights. And so since then I've added a few more lights in the wardrobes. Those little kind of, where the hell are they? Yeah, there's little lights. What I've done is I've added various little lights here, there and everywhere, because you do need them, because the little nooks and crannies are a little bit of a pain in the neck. Anyway, I'm gone off topic. So that's it. So look, if you have similar issues, or if you have solutions and stuff like that, by all means let me know. And really what I should do is just go back to VW and say, fix that, and I think it will. She's to go for her service at the end of January. Could be out of warranty at that stage, but anyway. Okay, thanks for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.